it was of no use to demonstrate to such opponents that the Vermont myths differed but little in essence from those universal legends of natural personification which filled the ancient world with fauns and dryads and satyrs, suggested that the Kalakanzari of modern Greece, and gave to wild Wales in Ireland their dark hints of strange, small, and terrible hidden races of troglodytes and burrowers. No use, either, to point out the even more startlingly similar belief of the Nepalese hill tribes in the dreaded Mi-Go, or abominable snowmen, who lurk hideously amidst the ice and rock pinnacles of the Himalayan summits. When I brought up this evidence, my opponents turned it against me by claiming that it must imply some actual historicity for the ancient tales, that it must argue the real existence of some queer Elder Earth race, driven to hiding after the advent and dominance of mankind, which might very conceivably have survived in reduced numbers to relatively recent times, or even to the present. Hi everyone, my name is Justin. Welcome to Game On, a channel all about tabletop gaming from RPGs to board games. Since Call of Cthulhu is one of my favorite RPGs and the Lovecraft mythos is very fascinating to me, I've decided to make some lore videos not only to help Call of Cthulhu keepers run better games, but for the general public to get a better idea of some of these incredibly unique Lovecraftian monsters. Due to remodeling my house and building a dedicated YouTube studio, I don't have a place to set up a camera, so hopefully you're okay with just my voice. Also, if you hear banging in the background or animals in the background, I really don't have a place to do this that's completely quiet, so please bear with me. Today we'll be discussing one of the more often recognizable Lovecraftian mythos creatures, the Mi-Go. First appearing in the novella The Whisperer in Darkness, which is where the quote I referenced in the beginning of this episode comes from, the description of these alien creatures is quite horrid. A light pinkish color covers a large portion of their crustacean-like body, some sort of chitinous carapace that protects the thorax and abdomen. Roughly the size of a human adult, the head, in quotes, at least as we as humans would classify it, is made of pyramid-like fleshy rings covered in antennae, and those with the horrid curse of seeing these creatures in person say their faces look like a color-changing fungus. Those who've been in the Mi-Go's presence claim they have 6 paired legs, though the number of pairs is disputed, and the wings of a bat. Of course, we can only take those poor souls' word for it, as the Mi-Go are made of some sort of non-carbon-based element not yet identified by humans. Their bodies reflect enough light for the human eye to see, but even the most sophisticated cameras and video lenses cannot capture them. As far as we know, they cannot be detected via X-rays, thermal, or ultraviolet. Even though the naked eye can see these terrifying creatures, only sketches attributed to the mentally ill asylum patients are on the record. Although the creatures themselves can't be observed by scientific instruments, their home planet can be. In the English tongue known as Pluto, is a cold and unforgiving place. Being an average of negative 387 degrees Fahrenheit, that is negative 232 Celsius, this rocky planet with an atmosphere of methane, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen cannot sustain life as we know it. It's not known for sure how well the Mi-Go can survive it, at least in a conscious state, as has been observed by witnesses that they can go into some sort of catatonic state, a sort of suspended animation with the ambient temperatures being very cold. It is sometimes related to turtles of our world, not technically sleeping, but in such a slowed state that they no longer need to breathe or eat. And similar to turtles, when warmed up, they decide to become more active. It's hypothesized that these creatures use this state to help them sail through space on their wings and discard the need for food, water, and heat. Again, all these theories are from mentally ill patients in asylums, because none of this can be true, right? We can only hope, because what they do to humans is an incredibly horrific ordeal you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. The Mi-Go are technologically more advanced than humans, and their scientific morality is much more than we can understand. Is it for the greater good? What they can and will do seems evil, but what is evil to a creature that can fly through space on wings and worships gods that we as humans cannot even begin to fathom? In The Whisperer in Darkness, we get a detailed account of at least 2 horrific things Mi-Go science can do. It's impossible for a human body to survive the vacuum of space, so how does one get to other stars? As humans, we used pressurized ships to combat the dangers of space. The Mi-Go have a different method. In a horrifically painful yet quick experience, the Mi-Go cut the top of your skull off and dip their claws into your cranial cavity. Mind you, you're not sedated for this, you're fully aware of it all. They quickly sever your brain from the spinal cord and put your brain in a jar filled with a gelatin-like goop designed to keep the brain alive. Similar to cerebrospinal fluid, it is made up of free proteins, fat, and carbohydrates to keep the brain fed as well as cushioned. Luckily, the terrible pain of getting your brain removed is over. Or is it? The Mi-Go attach instruments to the jar with your brain, allowing you to suddenly see, hear, talk, and even feel. Just when you thought the sweet release of death had taken all the pain, trauma, and horrors away, you suddenly feel excruciating pain in all of your senses, and you quickly realize that you're tucked under the arm of a Mi-Go flying through space. You try to scream, but they didn't plug that device into the jar. You feel constant pain, yet there is nothing you can do. Don't worry about your loved ones back home, though. They're being taken care of, too. The Mi-Go have another device that human medicine is nowhere near in technology. While your consciousness is flying through space, the Mi-Go are carefully making a mask out of your head and face. One Mi-Go, with a wet crunch, reshapes its carapace to a shape that more resembles you. It puts on the face and hands that's also cut off, and through some clever tricks that almost seem like magic, are able to make a spot-on recreation of you. Your family will never know. Well, they won't know long enough for the Mi-Go to do what they did to you, to them. If you're a Call of Cthulhu keeper who wishes to use the Mi-Go in your adventures, I suggest really playing up the idea that anyone the players talk to could be a Mi-Go. The first few sessions are normal, but then the players find discarded hands and head masks that the Mi-Go have used in the past. These faces look just like the news reporter or the doctor that they spoke to only a few days ago. If people have been disappearing, have your players find a room full of brains with those speech devices connected to the jars. The brains are filled with victims pleading for their brains to be destroyed so they can finally die. Of course, the players will be in a time crunch. They know the Mi-Go are coming back here. I wonder how many of those brains they can destroy before the Mi-Go came back and make them suffer the same fate. This is where I want to hear from you. What's one of your favorite things about the Mi-Go? What makes them Lovecraftian to you? If you're a Call of Cthulhu keeper, have you used them before in your games? I appreciate you watching, and giving us a thumbs up will let us know that you like these kinds of videos. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart for watching. Once again, my name is Justin, and game on.